Story 1. The Man at Coachella. I was 26 years old when it happened. And I want to be clear, I don't tell this story to scare people. I tell it because even now, years later, when I close my eyes and let my mind go quiet, I see that doorway. I see that figure standing there in the dark. And I know what I saw was real. My best friend Alyssa and I had been talking about Coachella for years. It was one of those dreams you keep pushing off because life gets in the way. Money, time off, scheduling, always something. But that year, everything finally aligned. We booked flights, found a little 2-bedroom Airbnb, about 20 minutes from the festival grounds, and committed. Actually committed. We were so excited we barely slept the night before our flight. I'd been to concerts before, local stuff, small venues, the kind of shows where you know half the crowd, but nothing had prepared me for the scale of Coachella. Walking in on that first day felt like stepping through a portal into another world entirely. Everywhere you looked, there were thousands of people dressed like they'd escaped from a dream. Neon fabrics, music bleeding from multiple stages, the smell of sunscreen and dry desert air. It was overwhelming, like the world had agreed to just let go. A fairy tale world. That's the only way I can describe it. The first 2 days were perfect. We saw artists we'd loved for years, danced until our legs ached, and crawled back just before sunrise. By day 3, we were exhausted, the deep bone kind that lives behind your eyes. But neither of us wanted to admit it. It was the last day. You push through on the last day. Before the trip, Alyssa had brought up the idea of taking Molly. She said it would make the last day feel magical. Save it for the last day, she kept saying. So we did. We took it in the late afternoon, right before one of the sets. For the first hour, nothing happened. Then, like a slow tide coming in, it started. At first, it was beautiful. Everything softened and brightened. The music felt like it was living inside my chest. I felt lighter than I had in months. I remember thinking, okay, I understand now. But maybe an hour in, something snagged in the back of my mind. I noticed a man. The first time I clocked him, he was maybe 20 feet away, standing slightly apart. Older than most, mid-30s, dark hair, scruffy jaw, black shirt and boots, which set him apart. He wasn't doing anything threatening. He was just standing still, looking in our direction. I didn't let it bother me, except then I saw him again near the drink stands, then near one of the smaller stages, 4 times, 5 times, each time, still watching. I told Alyssa. She laughed dismissively. I laughed too, but I couldn't shake it. It wasn't paranoia, it was that animal instinct. The high kept shifting, becoming jagged and uncomfortable. My jaw was tight, my heart beat too fast. The crowd felt too close, every sound was too sharp. I told myself it was the heat, the strain. I tried to breathe through it. Then he came up to me. He appeared on my side like he'd materialized out of the press of bodies. He was smiling, a social, easy smile. He leaned in close to say, I looked really good. I kept it polite. I turned to pull Alyssa closer, and she wasn't there. The space beside me was empty. She was gone. That panic hit me like cold water. He noticed immediately, asked if I'd lost my friend, said he could help me look. There was something in the way he said it, too eager, too ready. I said no and pushed into the crowd. I made it to an open patch of grass. My vision had gone strange, shimmery, like the air was vibrating. The ground looked like it was breathing. I called Alyssa over and over until finally one connected. She found me, and we left. The walk out was its own kind of nightmare. Every sound felt like a slap. Every person who brushed past me made me flinch. I kept scanning the crowd for that black shirt. Back at the Airbnb, I crawled into bed. My body had simply given out. I sank into that half-sleep place where you're not quite gone, aware of sounds and the texture of the sheets, but lost track of time. I don't know what woke me up, that animal instinct firing in the dark. I opened my eyes, and I saw a figure standing in the doorway, tall, completely still, facing me. Then my eyes adjusted. It was him. I screamed raw, primal, full lunged. I threw the covers over my head. I kept screaming until the light flicked on and Alyssa was there. The room was empty. The doorway was empty. I was shaking so hard. She held me and told me it was the drugs, that my brain had conjured something terrifying. I wanted to believe her, so I tried. The next morning, Alyssa screamed my name. I sat up and saw her staring at the floor, muddy boot prints on the hardwood, starting near the front of the house, coming down the hall, stopping exactly at my doorway, exactly where I had seen the figure standing, and then turning back. Someone had been inside that house, while I slept, while I screamed. while I hid under the covers. We packed in silence and got out. Nobody followed up meaningfully. We made our flight home, and nothing else happened. But I still look at doorways first, every single night, before anything else. Some things don't unhappen just because you made it home safe. Good night for now. Have a great night, if you can. Story 2. The man in the background. Let me tell you about the summer my girlfriend from college, Valentina, invited me to visit her family in San Diego. I almost didn't go. I was tired, burned out from work, running on empty in that particular way that makes everything feel gray and flat. My parents basically pushed me out the door. "You need to stop sleeping your life away," my mom said. And she wasn't wrong, so I booked a flight and went. The flight felt long, across the country always does. I texted Valentina. She texted back, "Come outside, we're here." Her and her dad picked me up in an old Toyota that smelled like pine air freshener and takeout. The house? God, the house was beautiful. A villa right on the beach. You could hear the ocean before you even opened the car door. Valentina's dad helped me with my suitcase. He led me to my guest room on the lower level. It had a direct view of the beach, and I could see the side stairs that led to the upper floor from my window. I should have appreciated it more fully. Valentina was already thinking about the beach. The sun was setting, she said. Perfect light for pictures. Could I help? The beach was crowded. Families, joggers, people flying kites. Valentina positioned herself near the water, and I started shooting. She has a good eye for angles. I probably took 100 photos before she was finally satisfied. Then I started looking through the pictures, and something made my stomach drop. In the background, every photo, there was a man, not just passing through, standing, watching. Same dark clothing in each frame, same stillness that doesn't belong in a crowded beach at golden hour. I looked up. He was gone. I really tried to shrug it off, but I've always had that fear, that quiet, pervasive dread of being watched when you don't know it. I felt it like a cold hand on the back of my neck. That night, there was a bonfire. I went because I didn't want to sit alone in the dark. I was talking to my boss on the phone when I stepped away from the group. That's when I saw him. A figure on the beach, in the dark, standing just at the edge of where the bonfire light reached. Still, watching. I turned my back slowly and pretended I hadn't seen anything. I made sure we didn't walk home along the beach. I didn't tell Valentina the truth, that I'd seen the figure again. I slept in her room that night. I just wanted company. The next day, I felt terrible, sick in that full-body way. I stayed in bed all day. Around 7, Valentina and her family left for dinner. I was alone. Quiet settled over the house. I dreamed about tapping, someone tapping rapidly on a glass table, insistent, rhythmic. It grew louder and louder until it pulled me out of the dream. The tapping had stopped. I turned to my window. He was there, the man from the beach photos. He had a black hood up and he was waving at me, slowly, casually, like he knew me. Before I could process it, he turned and jogged up the exterior stairs. I clearly heard, the front door open above me. He was inside. I threw myself out of bed and put my full weight against my bedroom door. My heart was slamming in my throat. The house above me was silent. Then the door handle moved. He was right on the other side. I felt the pressure of him pushing, gauging whether I'd budge. I didn't. I leaned harder. My bare feet pressed into the floor. The pushing stopped. I grabbed my phone and called 911. 5 minutes is an eternity when you're alone in a room with an unlocked front door above you. When I finally heard police, I ran. He was long gone, but Valentina went straight to her room and screamed. A camera, hidden in the corner, aimed at her bed. Her clothes and bathing suits, gone, taken. The police took the camera. The family changed the locks. I thought about that wave, that slow, casual wave from a man who had been watching us since before I even arrived. Who knew which room was mine? Have a great night if you can. Coachella. My girlfriend and I needed a reset. We'd both been grinding for months. Long hours, short weekends, the kind of exhaustion that builds quietly until you stop recognizing yourself in the mirror. Palm Springs felt like the right answer, somewhere warm and dry and quiet. A pool, a bed that wasn't ours, 4 nights of nothing. We found a listing on Airbnb that felt perfect. A modern 1-story house about 15 minutes outside the main drag of Palm Springs, on the edge where the city fades and the desert begins. White walls, concrete floors, big glass sliding doors that opened onto a backyard with a pool and lounge chairs. Behind the yard, a low fence, and then just desert stretching out in every direction. The listing said, very private, ideal for couples. A small storage shed sat off to one side of the yard, the kind you assume holds pool equipment and nothing else. The host had great reviews, no red flags anywhere. We got the door code by text, never met him in person, dropped our bags, changed into lighter clothes, and exhaled for the first time in months. Everything felt fine. Everything looked exactly like the photos. We went to dinner, came home, watched bad TV, fell asleep. Normal, good, safe. The first night, around 1 or 2 in the morning, I woke up to a sound, a thump, something hitting the side of the house, soft but distinct. I lay there in the dark, cataloging possible explanations. Day 2, we spent most of the afternoon by the pool. The heat was dry and total, the kind that bleaches your thoughts clean. At one point, I heard what I thought was a voice, distant, muffled. I asked my girlfriend if she'd heard it. She said maybe. We looked at each other and shrugged and went back to our books. There was nothing out there, just sand and lizards and the occasional bird. That night, more sounds, small impacts, a faint scraping along the outside of the house near the bedroom. I got up and looked through the glass door into the dark backyard. Nothing. No motion lights had triggered. We spent 3 nights dismissing things we should not have dismissed. Night 3, that was when it changed. We'd gone to bed just after midnight. My girlfriend was already asleep. I was still scrolling my phone when I noticed something. Light. Along the edges of the blinds, a faint glow that pulsed on, held, then shut off. Then, maybe 10 seconds later, another one turned on further down the side of the house. Motion lights, triggering in sequence. I sat up and watched through the gap at the edge of the blinds as one light after another came on, moving in a path, around the side of the house, along the fence line, toward the pool area. Not random, sequential, deliberate. The path of a person walking. My girlfriend woke up and asked what I was doing. I told her I thought someone might be outside. She sat up immediately, fully awake, fear already in her eyes. She told me to close the blinds. Close them. I did. I told her I was going to step outside and check. She grabbed my arm, told me it was a stupid idea. Don't, please don't. I told her I'd just take a quick look. I went to the kitchen and took one of the larger knives from the block without telling her. I slid the glass door open and stepped into the desert night. The air was cool and completely still. The motion lights had gone out. I stood at the edge of the pool listening for a full minute. Nothing. No sound, no movement. Then I saw the footprints in the pale sand along the side of the house. Shoe prints, clear and deliberate. Not animal tracks, human footprints, heading from the side of the yard toward the small shed beside the house. I followed them, quietly, telling myself that if someone was hiding in that shed, I didn't want to surprise them. But I also didn't want to stand there doing nothing. The prints went straight to the shed door. I stopped a few feet away and looked at it, closed, still. I listened. 5 full seconds of nothing. Then I took one more step toward the door, and a man's voice said, calm, conversational, almost amused, "Excuse me, could you open the door, please?" Then a laugh, small and quiet. I ran. I didn't think. My body made the decision before my mind caught up. I ran across the yard, yanked the glass door open, slammed it shut, locked it, and stood there gasping. My girlfriend was on her feet. She saw my face, and her own went pale. I told her there was someone in the shed, that he'd asked me to open the door. She made this sound, not quite a scream. While I was on the phone with 911, we watched as the motion lights triggered again, circling. 20 minutes of every small sound feeling enormous. When the officers arrived, I've genuinely never felt such relief. They checked the backyard, they opened the shed, came back and told us the shed was empty. He'd gone when he heard the sirens. But inside, they found traces, empty water bottles, food wrappers. Someone had been living there. One of the officers asked if either of us owned a dirty baseball cap he'd found pushed behind the living room couch. We both said no. That cap was not there when we checked in. He'd been inside at some point, maybe while we slept. We packed immediately, moved to a motel. The Airbnb host never replied. What stays with me is the voice, how calm it was, and knowing, really knowing now, that at some point he was inside that house with us, moving through those rooms while we slept. I think about what would have happened if I had opened that door. I don't let myself think about it for very long. Have a great night, if you can.